To receive an award named after Pierre Galletti has so much meaning in terms of having an understanding of the impact that you may be having in the field that you would like to have, but having some understanding of whether or not you're actually having that impact. When Pierre Galletti is spoken about, the mere mention of his name brings to mind the consummate pioneering researcher, educator, mentor, advocate, the type of person who's deeply committed and passionate about the work that he did, the work that would have impact societally and more broadly in training future generations, but even at the time, making critical discoveries and using those discoveries to have key advances in cardiovascular disease and other areas. So to hear about and to know about Pierre Galletti is absolutely having an understanding of the power of a person to impact a field and the future of the field. I've experienced a great deal of satisfaction of having the opportunity to conduct research in a laboratory setting and train future researchers in a field like medicine and medical and biological engineering, where we're looking at ways to apply engineering principles to solve problems in medicine and maybe come up with therapeutic approaches for different diseases. So for me, I almost stumbled into medical and biological engineering, lacking role models and lacking encouragement to pursue the field. In my stumbling, here's some things that I knew. I knew I wanted to use my chemistry background to solve problems in medicine. I knew I wanted to do something that was more applied. So the path that I thought about was perhaps using chemical engineering and principles in chemical engineering and applying those to solve problems in medicine. Actually, I was a pre-med chemistry major at Xavier University of Louisiana, distinguished for its status as the only Black Catholic university in the country, and also for being the largest producer of African Americans who go into medicine. Early on, I realized that maybe being a clinician was not necessarily the route that I wanted to take, but I did want to do something applied, and the route I took was to use chemical engineering and the tools of chemical engineering applied towards medicine to deal with and solve problems in medicine. And the problem that I spent most of my time working on, career long, has been sickle cell disease. And some of my earliest work is pioneering in that we were looking at the abnormal blood flow of sickle cell disease and the abnormal interactions of sickle red blood cells to the endothelial cells that line the blood vessels under dynamic flow conditions that mimic the conditions in the body. And I was the first to show under these flow conditions that the sickle cells would adhere. Those studies and some of the techniques that we started during that time are still being used today and still form the basis of additional discoveries that we are doing with newer, more sophisticated techniques, and also now that we've learned more about molecular mechanisms. What I think is really important for young people to think about is that a field like medical and biological engineering, especially if you have any desire to improve society, to improve health and well-being, a field like medical and biological engineering allows one to have the tools available to make a difference, to use those advances in a way to solve complex medical problems. We often think that our work speaks for itself, and that's true to some extent. But what also speaks for our work is the recognition that comes from our communities, from our peers, from our professional societies. And that type of recognition actually makes it somewhat easier for us as we try to move forward and serve as models for others who will be following us. One of the things I admire most about Pierre Galletti was that he was not only a pioneering researcher, he was a consummate educator, a mentor, and an advocate for medicine, for engineering approaches to medicine. And it's quite an honor to have received the Pierre Galletti Award, because in many ways my own career path has been modeled similar to what Pierre Galletti stood for. I think it's very important that we provide opportunities for all who are interested in pursuing paths in medical and biological engineering. I think it's very important that the tools and the discoveries and the advances in our field are made accessible. And Pierre, one of the things that he mentioned is, like, what is the usefulness of our tools and discoveries if they don't reach those who are in most need? And that's been something that's been important to me career long, is not just the advocacy to support and promote our field, but also the advocacy that involves access, making our discoveries accessible to all, making our field accessible to all. And those are some of the drivers that continue to move me today.